It's the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We're coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes, and we will be here with you for the next couple of hours talking local, regional, and national sports. And there's plenty of it to talk about. Had a great weekend. Wade, how was yours?
Weekend was not bad. I mean, Christmas is rapidly approaching, but the weather, it was rainy, but the temperature is actually not bad. So all in all, top to bottom, pretty great weekend. A lot of drama, a lot of intrigue, a lot of storylines that we had teased late last week that came to fruition, and a lot of stuff that got us blossomed ready for this week too.
Absolutely. There's plenty on tap today and all week, and we will be getting into it again. Hear some of it over the next couple of hours, some of it as the week progresses, and looking forward to touching on all of it. In our second hour, we will be joined by Ryan McGee of ESPN and the SEC Network. I think he was at the Heisman Trophy presentation this weekend. Or either there or Army Navy. I'm not sure where in the world is Ryan McGee, but
It's a fair question.
He's going to be here with us in the second hour talking a little college football. And, as is often the case, Ryan McGee, maybe we'll stay on college football. Maybe we'll go elsewhere. We'll see. In the next segment, we will be joined by Scott Ramsey. Speaking of busy, the president / CEO of the Nashville Sports Council, kind of catching his breath after a lot last week, because not only did he get Iowa and Missouri nailed down for the upcoming Music City Bowl, but he also got the football championship series championship games to First Bank Stadium on the Vanderbilt campus for 2026 and 2027. I want to chat with him and see how that worked out and where they see that going and what else is happening in Nashville. Whatever it is, sports-wise, Scott's got his finger on the pulse. Looking forward to talking to him about all of that here in our next segment. We'll also be talking a little NBA. Obviously, we'll be talking a little NFL, specifically Titans. Other college football, a lot of college football going on. There weren't a lot of games this weekend, but there was still a lot going on. Looking forward to getting into a lot of that. And college basketball starting to heat up. We got a great one Saturday evening. Went right down to the wire, literally. And there was some women's basketball over the weekend, too, that we need to get into. So, again, plenty of fodder for a sports talk radio show or a sports talk digital show such as Main Street Sports Today, and looking forward to getting into all of it.
Ain't no doubt. And it was a busy weekend. And then last night, due to Mother Nature, there was a lot of consternation about when and if and would the Giles County Christmas Parade go off. And I'm here to report it not only went off, it went off pretty top notch. We had live streaming coverage of that yet again on Pulaski Citizen Live. Where, by the way, Mo, if you want, you can watch the live camera of the ice skating rink that's installed on the downtown Pulaski Square. We've got a live feed that you can just tap into at any given moment. And I've
just at any time and just watch whoever's skating, huh?
Just whoever's out there. And I've had some friends and family that have said, man, I'm mesmerized by this. But last night, in addition to that, we do got to give a quick shout out. Our good friend and colleague, he looks a little different. Some have accused this guy of being a Grinch at times, but Jeff Bain and Leadership Logistics, they took home Best Vehicle. That's Jeff Bain in the back, folks. Don't let the costume or similarity fool you right there. But he took home a $100 cash prize. He took home a bottle of whiskey, and he got some other award, I guess a plaque. No disrespect to the plaque, but it seems low on the priority list compared to those other two. So how about our man decked out in the P-Town Christmas Parade last night?
I will say this. I reckon the plaque is going to stay around the longest of the three things that he did leave with.
I would think so, yeah.
And my question is, what kind of whiskey?
That's a great question. We will get to that.
We need a little intel on that. Absolutely. We need to know what the who put this on?
This is the Giles County Christmas Parade.
Who by
The
Chamber
Giles
of
Chamber.
Commerce?
Yep.
Okay. I want to know what kind of liquor they're springing for down there in P-Town.
Horchata bourbon single barrel. So that could be speaking to you. I know Jeff Bain's a big single barrel guy. So
might have to invite myself over to old Jeff's house. I think I got his number. So yeah, that
he will
that could
take
be
you
some
up,
good.
and yeah, he was decked out, and I think he had fun, but it was always good, and luckily Mother Nature allowed for that to go off as somewhat scripted at least.
It's always nice when it works out like that. Absolutely. Let's go ahead and dive into today's show. Let's get started with yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
Let me get to the rundown as soon as I stop thinking about $100 bills and barrels of whiskey over here. All right, there we go. I got it pulled up now. Today's rundown is brought to you by Zion Christian Academy. ZCA offers a faith-based, Christ-centered education right here in Maury County. So give them a call today at 931-388-5831 or visit them online at zioneagles.org and schedule an appointment today. That's Zion Christian Academy, prepared for college, equipped for purpose.
Girls basketball scores from Friday night. Let's start with Battleground Academy defeating Franklin Grace 56-14. Father Ryan with a 48-43 win over Callaway County, Kentucky. It was Brentwood 67, Centennial 7, Clarksville Northwest 56, Clarksville Northeast 17. Webb School with a 45-40 win over Columbia Academy. Coverage at mainstreetmurray.com. Cookeville 71, Oakland 35. Culleoka with a 47-22 win over Zion Christian. It was Donaldson. This game was not played. Mount Juliet Christian does not have a girls team, so there was no forfeit there. Springfield with a 53-42 win over Dixon County. It was Ezel Harding 65, Clarksville Academy 42, Hickman County 56, Fairview 23. Providence Christian 49, Franklin Road Academy 37, Giles County with a 59-27 win over Mount Pleasant. That one was on Pulaski Citizen Live. I feel quite confident. Good Pasture 56, Davidson Academy 36, Franklin Classical with a 43-20 win over Hampshire. It was Stewart County 50, Harpeth 18, Hendersonville 44, Liberty Creek 32, and two more. Rossview 66, Kenwood 42, and East Nashville 51, Laverne 28.
Other girls' scores from Friday night: Lawrence County 75, Columbia 56. Lebanon takes care of Green Hill 58-34. It was Maplewood Pearl Cone all over Maplewood 67-36. Middle Tennessee Christian on top of University School of Nashville 68-25. Houston County turning back Montgomery Central 50-19. It was Mount Juliet 66, Wilson Central 51. Nashville Christian 59-6. Ooh, a big win versus Friendship Christian there. Nolensville 44, Independence 39. Pope John Paul II takes care of Girls Preparatory School 41-29. Page a winner 71-42 over Ravenwood. Lipscomb Academy downing Rockvale 76-64. Perry County on top of Santa Fe 56-49. Valor Collegiate squeaking by Smyrna 47-43. Station Camp 54, Riverdale 40. It was Stewart's Creek with a big win over Gallatin 75-23. Speaking of big wins, Summertown 88, Battle Creek 16. Franklin taking care of Summit 65-33. A final in favor of Sycamore 44-35 over Cheatham County. Todd County Central Kentucky defeating Joe Burns 57-32. Watertown was a 48-41 winner versus Trousdale County. Wayne County in a game that was chippy, outlasting Richland 47-30 in girls action Friday night. Clarksville with a 66-27 win versus West Creek. Portland 45, Westmoreland 35, and Beach downing White House Heritage. That final was 61-22.
Girls action on Saturday. Bearden with a 58-50 win over Brentwood. It was Callaway County 63, Clarksville Academy 43. Cannon County with a 48-28 win over Murfreesboro Central. Father Ryan down Davies County of Kentucky 51-50. Franklin Road Academy 53, St. Cecilia 15. Kenwood with a 58-9 win over Warren Central of Kentucky. It was Nashville Christian 48, Middle Tennessee Christian 43. North Hopkins of Kentucky down Rossview 55-40, and Pope John Paul II with a 60-33 win over Merrill Hyde. In Friday boys basketball action, it was Brentwood 56, Centennial 38. Webb School with a 67-58 win over Columbia Academy. Again, coverage at mainstreetmurray.com. Cookville with a 72-61 over Oakland. Culleoka edged Zion Christian 68-67. Donaldson Christian with a 62-28 win over Mount Juliet Christian. It was Dixon County 77, Springfield 66. White House 54, East Robertson 46. Ezel Harding 69, Clarksville Academy 59. Hickman County with a 74-28 win over Fairview. Providence Christian defeated Franklin Road Academy 64-49. Mount Pleasant defeated Giles County 67-46. Cookville with a 98-45 win. Good Pasture with a 98-45 win over Davidson Academy. Hampshire edging Franklin Classical 46-44. Pope John Paul II 79. Hardin Valley 40. Here we go. Harpeth 72, Stewart County 41. Liberty Creek with a 42-35 win over Hendersonville. Hillsborough defeated Kirkwood 62-55. It was Hume-Fogg 73, McGavock 26. Laverne 65, East Nashville 61, and Lawrence County with a 46-38 win over Columbia Central.
Other boys scores from the weekend. Lebanon with a 48-44 win versus Green Hill. University School of Nashville 75, Middle Tennessee 63. Houston County taking care of Montgomery Central 68-47. It was Wilson Central topping Mount Juliet 50-41. Friendship Christian picks up a big win over Nashville Christian 89-37. Nolensville on top of Independence 57-37. Page all over Ravenwood 64-40. Lipscomb Academy taking care of Rockvale 64-47. It was Santa Fe 61, Perry County 47. Smyrna with a big win, 72-47 over Valor Collegiate. Station Camp putting up 73, just 62 for Riverdale. Good win for Station Camp there. It was Stewart's Creek 61, Gallatin 46, John Overton 63, Stratford 34. Summertown all over Battle Creek nearly put up 100, 97-32 was your final in that showdown. Franklin 65, Summit 64. 1-point ball game goes in favor of the Admirals there. Sycamore 72, Cheatham County 58. It was Joe Burns with a 42-33 win versus Todd County, Central Kentucky. Watertown edging Trousdale County 68-49. Richland gets the split, outlasting a comeback from Wayne County 68-65 in that big showdown there. West Creek 71, Chattanooga Prep 64. That's a good win for West Creek. Portland with a 45-42 win over Westmoreland. Beach capping our Friday scores with a 48-32 win versus White House Heritage. A couple of stray scores from Saturday. Cannon County defeating Murfreesboro Central Magnet 62-42. Ezel Harding on top of Lancaster Christian 66-45. Middle Tennessee Christian over Nashville Christian 70-58. Pope John Paul II 63, Maryville 57. It was Loretto staying hot, staying unbeaten, 65-58 versus Stone Memorial. Upperman takes care of the Tennessee Heat, 69-53.
Women's basketball action from the weekend on Friday. Fisk takes on the University of the Virgin Islands and wins at 91-60. On Saturday, Tennessee, with a record-setting performance, defeated North Carolina Central 139-59. We'll be talking more about that one later. Also, more on this one as Vanderbilt defeated Evansville 106-40. Another record-setting performance in that one. Again, we'll talk more about both those later in the show. Belmont goes to Tupelo, meets Mississippi State, and drops a nail-biter 73-70. The Lady Bruins fall to the Lady Bulldogs. Out in St. Joseph's, Missouri, it was Kansas State 74, Middle Tennessee State 48 in the Bill Snyder Classic. Trevecca with a 67-50 win over West Alabama on Saturday. On Sunday, Missouri defeats Lipscomb 78-57, and Cal defeated Austin Peay State University 71-45. Men's basketball action from the weekend. Fisk completing the sweep of the Virgin Islands with a 91-65 win in that one. On Saturday, Tennessee State with an 89-58 win over Johnson University. It was Southern Illinois 65, Austin Peay 60. Tennessee with a 66-64 victory over Illinois at Illinois. Stay unbeaten, stay number one. Do the Volunteers with that one. Belmont 93, Richmond 86. Big win for the Bruins there. And Trevecca downs West Alabama 64-51. NBA action on Friday. It was the Grizzlies 135, the Nets 119. On Sunday, it was the Lakers 116, the Grizzlies 110. On the ice Saturday night, Preds go out west and drop a 5-2 victory. I'm sorry, a 5-2 decision. They lost to Colorado. And on Sunday at Nissan Stadium, it was the Cincinnati Bengals 37, the Tennessee Titans 27.
Oof. Schedule coming up, coming in hot. These are double headers, unless stated otherwise, all beginning at 6 p.m. Laverne is at Antioch tonight. Greenbrier is on the road at Cheatham County. Fairview traveling to Dixon County. It'll be Watertown at FC Boyd Senior Christian. Mount Pleasant visiting Frank Hughes. Eagleville is at Friendship Christian. Sycamore traveling to Joe Burns. Stratford visiting McGavock tonight. Loretto will tangle with Moore County. Good little road trip there for the Mustangs on the road this evening at Moore County. Cascade is at Murfreesboro Central Magnet. Merrill Hyde traveling to Red Boiling Springs. Shelbyville is on the road at Siegel. And final doubleheader for tonight, it'll be Gallatin, who's at Station Camp.
Girls only game, Wade? Does this sound right? Giles County at Forest, 6 o'clock start? Okay, just the girls.
One and done tonight.
One and done. Getting home early, everybody will, from Chapel Hill on that one. Women's basketball action tonight. Or this is a doubleheader, apparently, as Wiley College of Texas comes to Fisk, taking on the Lady Bulldogs at 4, and the men's game will follow. Men's basketball action at 6:30. You can see this one on ESPN Plus. Cal Baptist is playing Middle Tennessee State. Is that at the Murphy Center? Says it is.
Back half of that WAC challenge.
Okay. Cal Baptist is at the Glass House against Middle Tennessee State again. That's a 6:30 start. You can see it on ESPN Plus at 7. Also on ESPN Plus, Truett McConnell of Georgia coming up to the Allen Arena, taking on the Bisons of Lipscomb. Again, that's a 7 o'clock start. You can see it on ESPN Plus as well. Got a double dose of Monday Night Football tonight, and none of it good. Chicago is at Minnesota. That's a 7 o'clock kickoff. You can see it on ABC. The Falcons are at the Raiders at 7:30. That one will air on ESPN. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your rundown. Top story brought to you, as always, by the fine folks over at Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats, and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia. As you recall from a couple of minutes ago, we mentioned the Lakers defeating the Grizzlies 116-110. Well, of course, LeBron missed the last 2 games prior to the Grizzlies meeting, decides to come back for that one. 18 points, 8 assists, 8 boards in the Lakers win at home there. He had previously missed a matchup with Portland a week ago and a Friday loss at Minnesota. Comes back just in time for the Grizzlies. So the Grizzlies' luck. They split a pair over the weekend, but still playing pretty well, the Grizzlies are.
Yeah, the Lakers, for whatever reason, they really get up for Memphis, so much so that LeBron just magically returns from his sabbatical. I'm not sure what officially.
Foot issue, apparently, yeah.
Foot issue. There was some consternation. There was some family issues, personal reasons. But whatever the case may be, he decides to return. And, the Grizzlies do drop. The Rockets dropped one over the weekend as well, out in Vegas at the Emirates NBA Cup. So the Grizz still remain in second place in the West, but that's one they probably should win. On the other hand, they had no answers for AD, who went for 40 and 16 last night. Jaren Jackson with a pretty good game, but they couldn't slow AD down was the key.
The only answer was when he went out. Apparently, they thought he hurt his shoulder, and They went on a run late in the third quarter with him out, but when he came back, like you said, they had no answers. 40 points, 16 boards for AD in that one. Ja finished with 20 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. Jaren Jackson with 25 points. Edey, 13 and 10 off the bench for the Grizzlies in that loss, which snapped a 4-game winning streak for the Grizzlies. So,
yeah, tough loss, but yeah. You can't win them all. They got a good win Friday night versus the Nets, so we'll take the split, I suppose.
There you go. Let's take a break here on the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports today. When we come back, we'll be joined by Scott Ramsey of the Nashville Sports Council. Stay tuned after this. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Step into the Lionel retail store at Opry Mills, Nashville, and you'll be captivated by all the magic of the 123-year history of Lionel trains. Whether you're already a train enthusiast or just getting started, Lionel will energize your love for trains. NASCAR fan? Come check out your local Lionel station to learn all there is to know about model trains and die-cast NASCAR collectibles. Visit nashville.lionel.com or call 615-455-9399.
Well, we went all out for you this year, didn't we, little girl? Yep, we got you what you wanted with all the bells and whistles.
A brand new car?
Let's go check it out. Come on. We're here.
Oh my gosh, we're going to the garage. I got a car.
Yep, let's get in here. Let me show you what's going on.
Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Duggar, got your 18 SEER heat pump with your ultraviolet home treatment system.
I cannot believe it. Thank you.
Yes! Give the gift of clean air this year. Merry Christmas from the Busy Bee family.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
He shoots, and he scores!
The Monday Mirror continues here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. We're coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes, and we are pleased to have with us the president and CEO of the Nashville Sports Council, which makes him basically the face of the TransPerfect Music City Bowl, Scott Ramsey. Scott.
Hey, guys.
What's up?
How are you?
I'm great. I don't know if that's a good thing to be the face of something. I've been told that's not necessarily a good thing, Mo.
No. In your case, it's just fine. Trust me. In our case, well, I won't even speak for Wade. In my case, maybe not so much, but no, you're just fine, man. We appreciate you taking some time with us. Busy week for you last week, man.
Yeah, it really was. It was an exciting week, really. I think that week always is exciting. A lot of adrenaline. The week you select your teams, and every year is a little different. And then Tad on it, a couple days ago, being able to announce that we landed the opportunity to host the FCS National Championship game in 26 and 27 at Vanderbilt. It just added to the excitement. So we're really looking forward to these next 2 or 3 years here, and what comes of postseason college football, but more importantly, the chance to host a national championship game for the FCS next year.
Now, Scott, I know that bowls are really kind of arranged marriages nowadays more so than ever, but you guys had Iowa 2 years ago. What's the level of excitement for you all and for Hawkeyes fans coming back here for the second time in 3 years, do you think?
Well, it's positive for a couple things. I think if you look back 2 years ago, my 30 years here, that was one of those unique situations where, if you recall, we had the bowl game slated for a Saturday early kick. Thursday night was Cowboys Titans, and boy, once that game was announced in early September, whenever in the summer, Cowboys fans ate up every hotel room in the city. On top of it, we had Kentucky that year, who played Louisville in the basketball game that day. We had a snowstorm, and then, if you remember, Southwest had that reservations crash that week. So it really limited.
I do remember,
fans.
actually,
and I feel like it's a mulligan for the Iowa fans. They really wanted to come. I think Monday this year is the game date, being the only game on, give them a chance to travel Saturday, Sunday. And then the same for Missouri. They wanted to come. This was a matchup actually we had in COVID year. Speaking of a few days we want to forget, after the bombing downtown on Christmas Day and getting everybody settled down, and then an outbreak of COVID on Missouri's campus caused us to have to cancel the game. So I'm anxious to finally put it together. Both teams are really excited about coming. They don't play each other often. They've only played one time since 1910. Which is kind of ironic when they're bordering states. So I think we're going to have a great game on the field. We're going to have a lot of out-of-towners here, and encourage all local people to come out. That's probably where we're a little slow right now, Mo, is just not a big alumni presence for these two schools here like we normally have in Nashville. We kind of have that luxury. You can probably name 6 SEC schools that have big alumni bases here, and unfortunately Missouri's not one of them. So I think we'll see a lot of out-of-towners. So really encourage the locals to come out and enjoy a day of college football.
Absolutely. And Scott, you kind of laid a lot out right there that kind of went against you guys a couple of years ago. But despite all that, and despite Kentucky sitting out a lot of players that year, it was still an impressive game. And I was impressed being there that day with the Iowa fan base. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together as far as the hotel situation, but I do think, given a little more a fair shot at getting some of those rooms, I think they're going to travel well. And I would imagine Missouri probably would as well this go around.
Yeah. There's always a lot of variables in attendance, especially now. We know that with the 12-team playoff kind of dominating, not just the media, but the focus of all the teams. But I think there's always a couple key things weighed on kind of what lends its success to Nashville specific. One is our geography, obviously. But for these two schools, as an example, being able to come in on Saturday, Sunday, have a game on Monday, and then you got the holiday on the backside, it really gives you that great travel window. Versus if this game was on a Wednesday, they got to work Monday, Tuesday. It just kind of shifts your decision making. And I think right now, the way ticketing market works, you can kind of wait it out a little bit. If you make a last minute decision, maybe that's price driven, maybe that's weather driven. So hopefully we'll be able to answer both of those and see a really good crowd on Monday in Nissan Stadium.
I'm looking forward to it. And you mentioned, I do love the aspect that it's the only game being played, kind of a lot of eyes fixated. And I think this will be a sneaky game. I'm sure you've heard this already. But I mean, it will be interesting too because everybody's going to be in black and gold. So depending on who wants to maybe take credit how the game goes, they can maybe claim a bigger ownership of the fan base at that point, right?
I think both teams are going to claim credit for having the entire fan base here. But hey, that's just me being maybe a little cynical. But no, it is kind of ironic that they're both black and gold and are bordering states and be coming from the same direction down to Nashville. So it'll be tough to tell unless you're going to count license plates, I think, we don't have a big parking lot anymore either. We got some stadium going on right there in the parking lot. So we'll have to just kind of look for the sweatshirts downtown, I think.
Should be interesting for sure. Scott Ramsey with the Nashville Sports Council joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Talking a little bowl activity and also the FCS championship games coming to Nashville and to Vanderbilt's First Bank Stadium at the conclusion of the 25 and at the conclusion of the 26 seasons. So it'll be in January of 26 and January of 27, but it's basically your 25 and 26 championship games.
Right.
Which gets a little confusing if you're not careful.
Good thing I had you to lay that out there because I get tongue-tied on that one. But I'm really excited about this. I think a couple things. One is a national championship game. I think anytime you get a chance in your city to host a national championship, it's special. We've only had two in my 30 years here. U.S. Women's Golf Amateur we had a few years ago, and then the Women's Final Four in 2014. So, a national championship at any level is special. And we're going to work hard to make it and elevate that event to make it hopefully representative and memorable for those. But secondly, I think when you look at the business side of it for us, I think it really checks a lot of boxes. I think, if you kind of study the history here a little bit in Frisco, it's about a 20,000 seat soccer stadium. They've sold out 13 straight years, not counting COVID, early. So I think with a chance to kind of come in a football stadium a little larger, with the renovations are done, low 30,000s with the clubs and the suites now at Vanderbilt, come to Nashville as a destination, and then pick and choose some of the events that we've done. Obviously, the Battle of the Bands and some events that we've done for the players. We're talking to the NCAA about, but more importantly, I think just kind of elevate the whole experience is what we're going to work on. I think the other thing from a business standpoint is it took the slot of the former CFP national championship game slot. So it's a Monday night all by itself, prime time on ESPN, that first Monday night in January. So again, fans can come in the weekend, enjoy the game, celebrate the game, and then go home. So I think it's a perfect travel window after the New Year's Eve event that we have in Nashville. So really bullish on it. I think it's really going to exceed some expectations of people here that don't know a whole lot about FCS football. You see the upper Midwest kind of dominating right now on the field, the Dakotas and the Montanas and the Idahos. And I tell you, after we announced and made the presentation to NCAA and won the bid, I got a lot of notes back saying we can't wait to come and we're going to show up. So looking forward to it.
This thing was in Chattanooga for a long time, Scott, and I'm sure I'm not telling you anything that you don't know, but I mean, was that something that you all looked at, or were you all ever looking at that when it was in Chattanooga at all?
No, we weren't really. It had kind of done a couple long-term deals, and it was in the middle of a long-term deal with Frisco. I'm not sure they would have kind of bid it out unless Frisco hadn't gone into a stadium renovation next year. So it kind of opened up the NCAA to look. That's why it's a 2-year bid. I don't know if they're thinking about kind of extending or re-engaging Frisco, but it was a 2-year bid, and we got the chance to put it on here, and we'll see how it goes and go from there with the NCAA. But we really just started kind of looking at it in the past year or so when the NCAA reached out and says, hey, this is going to be coming up for bid, and we think you might be a city of destination that we're hearing a lot from our membership. What do you think? And that's when we kind of married everything together. We partnered with Beth the Bush and the Ohio Valley Conference, which actually plays FCS football, had 3 teams in the 2014 field this year, as you know. And then went to Candace and said, hey, what about this opportunity? And operationally, it really fits as well. And, the teams like to practice near the stadium. You got an indoor, you got an outdoor, you got turf, you got grass, you got it all right there. And, we just felt like it really kind of fell in place for us.
With the bowl game and this, operationally, as you said, what are your concerns about being able to cover all of your bases in terms of both of those events within about a week or so of each other?
Yeah, it'll be back to back. It's going to be a lot of work. There's no doubt about it. It's going to take a lot of advanced organization, but I really got confidence in our staff, our volunteer leadership, and our community. I got confidence in Vanderbilt from the stadium operations standpoint. They're going to partner with us on that. So I really feel confident that that we'll be able to do it seamlessly. But it's a lot. You got some weather that time of year. I got the New Year's Eve event, kind of right in the middle of it. So it'll be a big lift, but I'm confident that will be a great representation for Nashville in the end.
You said it's a 2-year bid. Would you, if they were to rebid it after that, is that something that you feel like you all would be interested in, extending, or do you need to get into it and see first?
Yeah, I think we left it as in, let's see where it is at that point. The NCAA may have some obligation to go back to Frisco, given how they, with the renovation. I don't know that. I'm just putting that on the table and see how it goes here. We got a lot of partners in play. Did it work for Vanderbilt? Did it work for the city? Did it work for everybody? Did it work for ESPN? Did it work for NCAA, FCS? So I think it's they bid it for 2 years, and we've got it. And I think that conversation will happen at the right time here in a year or so.
Scott, I want to ask you one more real quick about the Music City Bowl, really just about the process in general. What does your selection Sunday look like? Do you have a war room? Are you I know it can be kind of stressful, especially because I've listened to you on another podcast kind of breaking down, almost like draft selections, right? So I'm curious how that process unfolds, and maybe in particular this year, how that process unfolded for you guys.
Well, it certainly changed, especially changed since COVID. I think Marie said a while ago, kind of arranged marriage. It is that on the SEC. Just a lot of conversations, a lot of what ifs. You're not sure, this particular year, was Alabama going to get in or out? And then that changed the whole dynamics and the domino effects of who went where. But I think we all work together really well. You've got 6 or 8 bowl games. Everybody's looking out for their city. You've got 6 or 8 teams looking out for their team and who they want to play and where they want to go. And then you got the conference office trying to kind of deal the cards the best they can. 10 years ago, yeah, it was a straight draft. I mean, man, you pick third, you're up, who you want, and here's the rules. And the rules were pretty simple at that point. We have that a little bit modified on the Big Ten, where, in the 6-year agreement we signed in 2019, we could only repeat a team once in the 6 years. That'll be Iowa for us after this year, so we can't pick them next year, for example. But other than that, it was kind of an order, and there's a 2-team rule or 2-win rule, which there has been since I got in this business 28 years ago. So what changed the dynamic late for us on the Big Ten was the Michigan win over Ohio State. Tampa picks right in front of us, the old Outback, which is ReliaQuest now, and they decided to go with Michigan over Iowa, and that left Iowa for us at 8 wins. And one of the things you kind of look at is uniqueness of matchup. Like I mentioned, one time in 100 and some years, bordering states, 8-win team, 9-win team. And when you move up, you got to respect some of the successes they had on the field. And 17 wins in those 2 conferences really, I think, says a lot when you don't make the playoff. I mean, now you start getting 3 or 4 or 5 teams in the playoff, it can really kind of make some things differently. So, I'm excited about it. And, the process continues to get tweaked, but it's going to get overhauled. We all know it in 26. So it's really this year and next year. And then we'll see where we are. I like where we are in Nashville. I like the opportunities ahead of us. Don't know what those are going to be yet because the commissioners are going to set those. But I like where we are and the opportunity for us to take advantage.
Scott Ramsey of the Nashville Sports Council joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. And Scott, shifting away from football for just a second, because while this is a fantastic football team, town, not team, there's a lot of other stuff going on here. What is the Sports Council's involvement with Athletes Unlimited basketball that's coming to Municipal in February?
Yeah, I think there's certainly been a push, as you know, for a professional women's sports team here. You've got to have a lot of key things lined up. A, you got to have an owner. 2, you got to have a facility. 3, you got to have a league that's ready to expand or relocate. We haven't been able to kind of line those up yet, but I think Athletes Unlimited gives us that opportunity. It's professional women's basketball. They play their entire season in one city, and I can't tell you the exact number of games, but it's going to be over a 5-week period of Municipal Auditorium. It's players from WNBA, players from Europe, players coming out of college, and they're here. They're anchored in for 4 to 6 weeks, and a lot of games and a lot of opportunity to see some professional women's basketball. Hopefully that'll set the stage for what's to come. Don't know what that is yet, but I think we have learned that if you do things well, your reputation and opportunities will continue to present themselves, and I think that'll be one of them.
I did want to drop back for just a second, because you made a comment while we were discussing the FCS situation and the NCAA coming here from Frisco. They reached out to y'all initially. Is that right?
Yeah, they did initially. I think that I guess I did say that because it's fact. I didn't think about it until you just mentioned, but I think we ought to be pretty proud as a city when that starts happening. I remember talking to you in, early 2000s where we were begging people to pick up the phone on the other side, right, and give us a chance. And now people are looking at us as, one of the top destinations in the country for sporting events. And I think it's something we all as citizens ought to be pretty proud of, because hosting events takes everybody. I mean, it's the hospitality community, it's the tourism community, it's the venues, it's the volunteers, it's the police, it's the public works that pick up the trash at the end. And, we're just thankful that everybody kind of pulls in the same direction. And, the NCAA reached out. They actually came down for 2 days to kind of look at everything. We're going to, Gaylord Opryland's willing to host the teams in a very similar model that we do for the Bowl. We're going to try to stage a battle of the bands like we do to showcase a fan event downtown on Broadway. And then certainly the games at Vanderbilt, rather Nissan Stadium. But they did come down, and we at that time really got serious about putting the bid together. They sent out the bid. I think they said 10 or 11 cities bid on it. They narrowed it to 5, and we were fortunate enough to have the opportunity to do it here for 2 years.
I would just think, to everything that you just said, when folks are calling you, that's that's pretty significant, I would think.
Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes you reflect, and I'm sure you do it too when you drive downtown sometimes for some events. But I think reflecting back a little bit is kind of thinking about kind of the evolution of that, in that, boy, we just kind of did anything and everything we could to kind of build a reputation, and then just kind of kept stacking events and successes. And Women's Final Four and the All-Star game for the NHL that we changed, the SEC basketball tournament we got anchored in here, the NCAA tournaments, the women's amateur, the NFL draft, and so I think when they do call, unfortunately now we're so busy, it's not easy to always chase everything. I mean, we're looking longer out. You have to have more resources, more rooms, more convention center space, longer times in arenas, and it's not always available. So I was really excited when this opportunity came up, because everybody was on board, and initially we didn't have to shuffle a lot of existing contracts or conventions or things like that. So I'm looking forward to it.
With the caveat that you may not be able to answer this, what have y'all turned down?
Well, I think if let's see, let me kind of go back in my head here. I'm getting old, Maurice, so I got to kind of think a little longer than I used to. But I think, well, a couple things. I don't know if it's a hard turn down, but I think some of it was very strategic. when we did the long-term deal with the SEC men's basketball tournament, 16, 17, somewhere in there. So we've got that extended out through 2035. Yes, we had a couple women's in there, and now we're on a straight run for the men's. When we did that, between the mayor's office, Convention and Visitors Corporation, the Predators, Convention Center, everybody was in the room, and we said, hey, if we can land this, a couple things. The Predators were willing to give up the arena for 8 days in the middle of March. We can't do another event over another weekend in the last 3 weekends of the regular season for the NHL, try to make playoffs. We can't eliminate that from the NHL having us not being able to schedule at home. So that eliminated us from bidding on the in-state first and second rounds, which is a periodic once every 3 or 4 years, a women's Final Four in the arena, a Frozen Four in the arena, which we thought was strategically really good because those events could hit maybe once every 3 or 4 years if you're lucky. But we got the SEC men's tournament locked in through 35, which now you got Texas, Oklahoma coming in. We got Wednesday to Sunday, packed, massive TV, massive media, massive fans. So I think we've gotten a lot more strategic. I'm kind of dodging your question a little bit, but as we look longer out, we've got to make some pieces fit. And to do that, it takes a lot more kind of planning.
Great. Scott, as always, we appreciate you taking some time with us, man. Get some sleep because I know it's getting ready to heat back up for you here in the next few days. But thank you so much, and we look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Anytime. Enjoy it. Merry Christmas, guys. We don't see you.
You as well. Thank you, Scott.
Too. Hey, when we continue here on the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, let's talk a little professional football and the Titans. Stay tuned.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yes, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
So Busy Bee is a very close-knit family. We fight just like every family does. We have arguments, but we always come out with a solution to the problems. We don't just fight about what we want, we fight about what customers need. We want to make sure that every customer we go to is more than satisfied. And that doesn't just start whenever we show up at their door, that starts when we show up every day at work. We want to make sure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com. Welcome back into the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. We're coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes, and I don't guess we can put this off a whole lot longer. We thought the Titans' 10-6 loss to Jacksonville was bad last weekend. Well, just when we think it's as bad as it can get, you get a 6 turnover performance from the Titans in a 37-27 loss to Cincinnati. And Wade, the 27 points tells me that this is a winnable ball game.
Well, yes and no. Some of them kind of coming in garbage time, and I would hope and I would pray you could have put up at least 20 versus the Bengals. They're one of the worst defenses in the entire league. So it kind of maybe shouldn't be that big of a shock, but yeah, this game was right there for the taking. And for what, 4 times in a row, the Bengals and especially Burrow continue to just snatch the souls of the Titans.
Yeah, and Cincinnati turned it over enough times to keep Tennessee in the ball game. They had 4 turnovers themselves, and if the Titans aren't looking at some offensive plays that have Tavondre Sweat carrying the ball, I don't know what they're doing with their lives, but that's another story for another day.
Yeah, you mentioned bringing up this segment. We could just run that highlight for the entire 10 minutes, and I'm cool with that because when Meatloaf got loose, that was the loudest that Nissan Stadium has been all year. I swear, he sits like 2 rows down from me, but I swear I saw Blaine Keller. I think I had to grab him and pull him out of his from the ceiling because he was teleporting. Because when Meatloaf got loose down the sideline, throws a stiff arm that would rival Derrick Henry's.
My goodness.
And then he was maybe one more block away and a small bit of oxygen tank away from probably
not necessarily in that order.
Not necessarily
in that order. No.
Highlight of the season, which kind of is great, but also kind of tells you what kind of season it's been for the Titans.
Hey, yeah, if it had been Canada, he'd have had a little bit more room on that sideline. We might be talking about something really special there, but yeah, that was pretty much, unfortunately, the highlight for the Titans yesterday. Tony Pollard ran the ball fairly decently. Tajay Sharp did as well, but again, 6 turnovers. We talked with David Beauclair on Friday. Levis had back-to-back games without a turnover, and so he throws 3 picks, 1 return for a touchdown, and fumbles the ball. I guess he had to make up for lost time, right? So just when I was starting to be convinced that maybe Will Levis could be an answer in 2025, and yeah, no, I don't know what they're going to do, but he's not it.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, right when you kind of were getting ready to tiptoe perhaps on the train tracks there and just take a peek down the tunnel.
Yeah. There it comes.
The old Levis showed up, and yeah, spoiled. You mentioned Pollard. He's just shy of 1,000 yards. He's been your main offensive bright spot because Spears had the insane touchdown that is going viral. We need to pull. I'm gonna pull that picture up before we get out of here. The work of art that it was. Kind of just a frustrating day. I mean, no one wants to hear this, but in the grand scheme of things, that was really a great day for the Titans. You showed a little sign of competitive life, and no player is out there for safety and for competitive reasons going to try and intentionally lose a game. But you'd rather, not start winning 3 or 4 down the stretch and pick 10th or 11th. I wouldn't imagine.
Yeah, I guess it was kind of the best of both worlds when you come right down to it. I mean, they did looked like they had a chance, and then they did ultimately take the L. But again, for Will Levis's prospects as starting quarterback of the Tennessee Titans, yesterday was not a good day.
Yeah,
I mean,
it feels like, I was texting a buddy when I was leaving the stadium yesterday. I mean, you don't really necessarily gain anything by putting Rudolph in there in terms. I mean, he threw a pick as well. I mean, in terms of competitive, but also we're at the point in the season where that window is certainly passed. And so presumably at that point, Callahan kind of said in the post game, hey, he didn't have it today. He didn't have it, and we made the switch to try and give us a little bit of a spark. You could argue probably even too little too late. It will be fascinating to see kind of how this season ends with Levis, and then obviously where we go heading into 25.
And to the point where, you don't want to win too many games, like you said. At the same time, that's not what those 53 active guys are wanting to hear. That's not what they're out there for. And you got to do something to show those guys that you are trying to win, I think.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, from competitive / safety, I mean, those players are not going to go out there and lay down. And you got guys on both teams, and the Bengals, man, talk about the Bengals. I would hate to be a Bengals fan because they have just been snake bit at every turn. And you see at some point in every game they played this year what could have been if they're either their defense wasn't too poor, so they didn't have just a little bit of injury luck go against them, because it has been a frustrating season for them, or else we're talking about a third competitor really being in the mix there in the AFC North hunt. But frustrating all around for the Titans. They ran up against the Bengals, who have kind of owned them in the last 4 years, and Burrow had all day to throw at times, and it was tough.
Yeah.
Mark did find this is a work of art though here. Art but Make It Sports, one of the greatest Twitter accounts that there is. The Titans have officially arrived when they Art but Make It Sports. They take this is from the Raft of Medusa, of course, everybody knows, I'm sure, which was in 1819 by Theodore Gersall, and he puts that up, and it looks like Spears yesterday with the Guardian cap and all, giving them a little extra oomph right there at the goal line. That's when the Titans have officially arrived, when you land on Art but Make It Sports.
Art but Make It Sports. I'm not familiar with that. I will be familiar with that. That's nice. That's good stuff there. Good job, Mr. Neely.
Any given night, there's at least 2 or 3 plays that they somehow, some way, the account even says not AI used whatsoever, which I find hard to believe, but they find a freaky comparison to a famous work of art, as we mentioned there, that the Titans were featured on yesterday.
That's pretty impressive. That's some talent right there.
And a lot of spare time on their hands.
Clearly, a bunch of spare time on their hands. Speaking of spare time on their hands, Buffalo 48, Detroit 42. One, I don't know if Detroit is suddenly coming back to the pack with some of the injuries that they've had or not. But two, 48-42 is a scoregami. For those who are unfamiliar, and I don't know who that would be, but there has never been an NFL game decided by 48-42. This is the 1,090th unique score in NFL history.
Yeah, big one for the scoregami nerds. Like yesterday, we were kind of keeping tabs on it, and credit to Dan Campbell for some questionable gambles down the stretch to kind of give us the opportunity just to taste that 1,090th scoregami yesterday.
Yeah, Dan Campbell, he's he's that dude, man. He giveth and he taketh away, I guess. And wow.
And
real
quick, and we mentioned that the Lions were treading on thin ice. They got burned yesterday. The Bills bounced back from a crazy game last Sunday, and then the news comes down today that Montgomery is now out for the season. So things go from bad to worse And I said, Detroit is on super thin ice. Now they're chasing Philadelphia. But more importantly, the Vikings are now right back in the mix, not just for the NFC North, but also potentially for the 1 seed should the Eagles now stumble.
Yeah, you got 3 teams chasing that number 1 spot, and big difference in winning your division and being what, the 5 seed?
Mm-hmm.
So
and Detroit feels borderline unbeatable at home. They feel rather beatable if they have to go to Philly, or if dare say they have to go to Minnesota, perhaps.
Sure. Yeah. So things
especially without Montgomery.
Hey, especially without Montgomery, with a increased workload for Jahmyr Gibbs and however else that shakes out. So meanwhile, Seattle trying to hang on in the West, and Geno Smith gets hurt. Their team lost to Green Bay last night. He's got a knee situation. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on that and see how that plays out.
Yeah, Seattle had everything there for the taking, and man, they've gone up, they've gone down, they've gone up, they've gone down, and now they're back down. They're going to have to fight off the Rams, the Cardinals now with another faint heartbeat still in the division, and with Geno being out, that could be really dicey because it was Sam Howell did not look particularly impressive last night in backup duty.
No, not at all. Not at all. Hour number 1 of the Monday Mirror here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, is in the books. When we come back for hour number 2, we will talk a little college football. Stick around when we come back to the Lee Company Studios after this.
Nashville's Nutcracker returns to TPAC this December, presented by Nashville Ballet. This holiday season, audiences will journey with Clara and the Nutcracker Prince through Nashville's history and the land of sweets. Tickets at NashvilleBallet.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Vilay Saisuka, CEO and founder of Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee here in Murfreesboro. We offer foot and ankle care from ingrown toenails to diabetic foot wounds. We also fix ankle fractures and things like that.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Hour number 2 of the Monday Mirror here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, starts right now. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. We're coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes, and let's talk a little college football ahead of Ryan McGee of ESPN and the SEC Network joining us here in the next segment. Started to see tweets about this on Saturday while I was at the TECA East-West All-Star Classic up at Clarksville, but Marshall accepted a bid to the Independence Bowl. They were set to play Army while, Charles Huff was leaving and going to Southern Miss, and eventually 25 members of the 2024 Thundering Herd football team wound up in the portal. And Marshall officials just did not feel like they could put a representative team on the field against Army. So Marshall pulled out. Louisiana Tech is in the game instead. And Marshall catching a lot of hell from a lot of folks over this. Finishing the year 10-3, winning the Sun Belt Championship with a 31-3 win over Louisiana. I mean, great year for them, but obviously, as we talked to John Bryce earlier in the week, there was a lot going on, off the field between officials and Huff, and he takes the Southern Miss job. Players jump in the portal, including 3 of their top 7 receivers, leading rusher from last year, 3 quarterbacks, and star linebacker Jaden Yates. Among those 3 quarterbacks, by the way, is Cole Pennington, who I assume is the son of Pennington. Chad. There we go. Could not come up with him. Former Knoxville prep standout who played at Marshall and with the Jets, among others. But yeah, I mean, again, Marshall catching a lot of hell for pulling out of the game, but I mean, they could have gone to the game with half their personnel. And I think it was Pat Forty that actually tweeted that Army deserves better. Well, yeah, they probably do deserve better, but that wasn't going to be 10-3 Marshall that they played in the Independence Bowl. I mean, this is where we are in college football right now, and it's unfortunate, and I get it. Now, it's not a good situation for Army to have to deal with, but Marshall could have went and took the money, and then you'd have been mad at them then too, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, the internet's gonna be mad no matter what happens. And so you just got to keep that treat everything with a grain of salt. But yes, I totally get both sides. On one hand, if you're Marshall and you're AD Christian Spears, do you want to roll out a lesser than product? I could certainly make a compelling argument for no, you don't. And then on the other hand, if you're Marshall Athletic Director Christian Spears, I can make an argument for, hey, no, we kind of are going to stick to what we agreed to, or we're going to stick to kind of what we're about, and we'll just deal with the blowback. You can't win really in either situation. You also kind of can't lose in either situation. I think for just as many detractors as you kind of mentioned a moment ago, I think a lot of folks kind of understand the situation that they're in. By the way, shout out to Marshall AD Christian Spears. He's worried about all this, but apparently Marshall's in the Final Four of the men's soccer tournament. So he's also like, hey, I'm trying to win a national championship in another sport while my football team is crumbling. So
right.
We thought Scott Ramsey was a busy dude. This guy is apparently pretty busy as well, trying to juggle everything at the moment.
Yeah. I wonder how the Sun Belt feels about Marshall pulling out, because I don't know how they divvy up bowl money and that kind of thing, but by Marshall pulling out of that bowl, obviously they're not going to get whatever they would have gotten, and It doesn't come. I don't know. Again, I don't know if the conference shares that like the SEC does, with all of it going in a pot and everybody dividing it up, or what. But instead, that'll go with La Tech to Conference USA, I would guess. So there are financial ramifications to Marshall pulling out of this game, obviously, on top of everything else. Tough decision for Spears to have to make, but and to your point, I don't know that there is necessarily a good one or a bad one under the circumstances, but it won't be the last time it comes up. So
yeah, no, and there's an article I'm reading through on The Athletic talking about future penalties kind of already being discussed. Perhaps this is definitely going to continue. Props to Louisiana Tech for taking it on short notice, short drive for them down to Shreveport, obviously. So I'm also fascinated to know how many guys on Louisiana Tech were already putting their shoulder pads up and their helmets up, and they're like, oh, thank goodness, now I can finally go back to just being a regular student on campus for a couple of weeks. And it's like, oh, actually, now you got to get back out and go out and play another game. There's some guys on that team that are like, what the heck, man? I thought we were done with this season. Now we got to go out here and play Army of all teams. I'm not trying to go out there and get cut in the knees for 60 minutes when I thought my season was done.
5-7 Louisiana Tech, by the way. So take the over in this one. I don't know what the number is, but look over. News out of Tallahassee. Mike Norvell still has a job, apparently, because they restructured his contract, giving $4.5 million of his 2025 salary to help launch a fundraising campaign. Last spring, Norvell's annual salary nearly doubled to $9.9 million. That was last spring, ahead of this 2-10 season, which was the Seminoles' worst record in 50 years. So I don't know if Norvell went to them and said, hey, what can I do to help? Or if they came to him and said, here's what you can do to help. But he's given up $4.5 million, with nearly half, a little over. Well, no, not quite half of that $9.9 million to help with some fundraising. I wanted to be proactive in my financial assistance through this time of transition as we all push forward to get back to the standard of Florida State football. I believe this step will help accelerate the process to where I know we are going, and hopefully it will also help me keep my job. No. That's not part of the quote, but it certainly should be. After going 2-10 this past year, Norvell is 33-27 at Florida State after leaving Memphis to take over that job.
Norvell's looking at Harbaugh from a couple of years ago. They went 2-4 in that COVID year, and his salary got cut in half from $8 million to $4 million. Kind of similar vibes here. Hopefully, it works out the same for Norvell, because this is usually kind of a telltale sign, like, hey, we're going to give you one last chance. And matter of fact, give us a couple. Give us some of that money back.
When they start docking your salary, things are not good.
We ain't gonna fire you. We're gonna pay you a little bit. Just give most of the money back until we feel justified. If not, we got Gus Malzahn sitting over here waiting to take your place.
Hello. I would still love to know how that worked out. I don't know how comfortable you can be if you're Mike Norvell. First you've got an offensive coordinator coming in from a head coaching gig at Central Florida, and then they ask you for half your salary back.
Tough break, though, right? Going from being right there on the cusp and maybe getting shafted last year in the final year of the 4-team playoff to being eliminated in the 12-team playoff by week 2.
Yeah. It was never good for them. And I'm still, just puzzled as to how DJU was so horrid for them all year. So they got to get the quarterback situation addressed, obviously. Ditto for Brian Kelly, who has also given up some money. The Kelly Family $1 Million Match Challenge is running through February, with the LSU coach pledging to match $1 million in LSU NIL contributions. LSU has a long and proud tradition of being one of the elite programs in college football. In order to remain among the nation's elite in this new world of college athletics, we have to be competitive in all areas of our program. I am committed to doing all that we can to win championships at LSU. While we are not permitted to financially support our NIL efforts directly, Pecky and I can certainly match this tremendous fan base's generosity by investing in the future of LSU athletics through the Tiger Athletic Foundation. So his money is going to the Athletic Foundation, but he's going to match whatever other folks contribute to their NIL initiative. So, and again, I don't know how much fire Kelly was under at LSU, but obviously this wasn't the season that they wanted to have. And then the Bryce Underwood decommitment on top of everything else. So it's tough times at Baton Rouge right now. Hard times, as Dusty Rhodes would say. So
yeah, hard times. And yeah, you could call this the we're sorry Bryce Underwood fund is what you can call this. It's like, hey, we can't get beat out on a it's bad enough to get fight and claw for all these players in the SEC, but when you have a stud of that caliber, that kind of gets plucked, even though he's from Michigan, but from afar, if you will, stings a little more. So yeah, they gotta do some stuff, and it feels similar to Norvell. It's like, hey, I'm trying to do the right things. That way, even if I do get let go, I can kind of still have a little face to save, because the Sharks are circling down in Baton Rouge.
It feels, or alligators, as the case may be. Yeah, whatever circles in Baton Rouge. Meanwhile, Kelly's successor back in South Bend, they're not taking his money. They're giving him more. Marcus Freeman's gotten a 4-year extension that'll make him one of the highest paid coaches in college football. $9 million plus. Freeman 30-9 since taking over for Kelly when the latter went to Baton Rouge. And this is interesting to me because, you saw Freeman's name being mentioned in connection with the Chicago Bears vacancy.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if Notre Dame said, hey, we need to nip this in the bud, as Barney Fife would say. You wouldn't have thought a guy that lost at home to Northern Illinois would be getting $9 million a year, but apparently they like what he's done aside from that. They won their last 10 after that loss. Obviously, they're hosting a college football playoff opening round game, and they did beat Texas A&M in College Station to open the year. So good vibes in South Bend, and Marcus Freeman is the beneficiary thereof.
Absolutely. And I had to Google who his agent was. It's Mr. Clint Dowdle. And he is the gentleman who coincidentally played football for the Bears. But seems to me like a classic, he's really interested in the Bears. Be a real shame if you were to let a coach that got you to the college football playoff, be a real shame to let him go. We'll give you $9 million. Job well done by everybody. Bag secured.
Got a nice coach here. Hate to see anything happen to him.
Yeah, it's crazy. You mentioned that record, 30-9, and the lost at home to Marshall in his first year, and then lost at home to Northern Illinois this year. 2 stinkers on those 9.
Ooh,
but in the playoff and likely going to the quarterfinals.
That's right, because they got Indiana, right?
Yeah, and I my Michigan fandom clouds my judgment a little bit, and I know a lot of folks that listen to this show probably don't want to hear it, but Notre Dame is a sneaky good team. I don't know that they're going to make any sort of run to win it all, but keep your eyes on the Fighting Irish. I think they're going to win that game versus Indiana. I'm not going to say super convincingly, but I'm not going to be shocked if they win by 2 touchdowns.
Oof. Okay. I'm sure we'll be talking more about this at some point on this show. Hashtag Wonderslate.
And that's the Friday night game too, man. South Bend's going to come alive, I think, on Friday night. It'll be a fun one to check out. And the other, I mean, you can't lose, right? Because then if Notre Dame loses, we get the flat out embarrassment. The team they don't want to play, Indiana, as Jerry Palm told us, comes into their house on their night and turns the apple cart upside down. It'd be fun to watch. It'd be riveting theater coming up Friday night.
Without question. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return to the Monday Mirror and the Lee Company studios, we will be visiting with Ryan McGee of ESPN and the SEC Network. Stay tuned after this.
Hi, I'm Riley, a certified physician associate here at Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee. We have a couple locations, Murfreesboro, McMinnville, as well as Franklin. We treat people of all ages. We're excited to get you back on your feet and hope we can help you today.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
He shoots, and he scores!
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
The Monday Mirror continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We are coming to you from the Lee Company studios, and we are glad to have with us from ESPN and the SEC Network, the one, the only, Ryan McGee.
What's
Ryan,
up, guys?
How are you doing?
I'm good. I kind of got that. My wife told me yesterday. I kind of got that week 16 or whatever it is stare about me. Like, I think everybody's starting to realize that 12-team playoff is awesome, but it ain't doing much for my family life during the holidays. So before I go to Columbus, Ohio, and freeze my baguettes off, I'm trying to get my Christmas done.
Good luck with that. So you're going to be in Columbus this weekend. Where were you this past weekend?
I was at the house, and
Oh.
and it was weird. First time I'd been home on a Saturday since like the third weekend of August, and I woke up. I'm like, "What are we going to do today?" My family was like, "Well, I don't know what you're going to do, but this is what we usually do." but I watched Army Navy with my dad, which was great.
Okay.
Dad officiated. You know, you guys know my dad was a college referee for 40 years. He did 2 Army Navy games. I think it was 91 and 92. And so it's always fun. I don't ever get to watch football with him anymore because I'm always on the road. But he and I hung out, watched Army Navy, and he told a bunch of stories and while we watched the game, and it was great.
Very cool. I guess you watched the Heisman Trophy presentation after that, and we've not talked about it because I wanted to ask you this. Why does everybody hate Travis Hunter?
Because he plays for Deion Sanders. It's the strangest thing to me. I don't get it. And I tweeted this that night, which is, you know, anyone who doesn't like Travis Hunter has chosen not to actually try to get to know Travis Hunter, because all that kid does is he goes to campus and he takes his classes and he watches film and he gets his physical treatment and he works out, and then he goes back to his apartment where he lives with his fiance and they eat dinner, and then he watches more film, and then he might play a little bit of NCAA football on the PlayStation, and then he goes to bed. Like, that's it.
And then he gets up and does it again, huh?
That's it. And all his teammates do is, come on, let's go out. Let's go out. He's like, nope. I mean, even in New York, he wins the Heisman Trophy. He went out in Times Square and posed for all the pictures. And even after that, his teammate, let's go out. Let's go out. Nope, I'm going to bed. And he's the most boring kid you'll ever meet in the most positive way. And so, yeah, anyone who doesn't like him has just decided they're not going to like Colorado because of Deion Sanders, and they're not going to like anybody that plays for him. And I'm telling you right now, and Shedeur Sanders, same way. You go spend time with those guys and you see what they do on a day in, day out basis, then, you know, it would be very inconvenient for a lot of people that want to say they're showboats and what all this other stuff. And it's just not the truth.
The kid has a 4.0 on top of everything else.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing he goes and does outside of his apartment and campus is he goes fishing. That's it. So yeah, you couldn't have gone wrong with any of the finalists. I love Ashton Jeanty. I think if he'd have won it, it would have been great. I love Dylan Gabriel. I've covered him at 3 different schools now. You know, right?
Which is another story.
Yeah. I love all those guys, and so but the thing, Marty and I say this all the time with Marty McGee, which is the most underappreciated aspect of this sport, college, really collegiate athletics in general, is how great these kids are. Like, the days of caveman football are done. Like, you can't just walk into the building and just athleticize your way through it. You got to study. You got to do the work. You got to do the work 24 hours a day. It's a full-time job. And so all of these guys, I mean, all those guys that were in New York, all those guys in that top 10 of the vote, I've gotten to spend time with, at least a little bit of time with all of them. And they're just, I wish people appreciated it more. They're just, Travis Hunter's bad news. He's a great guy. He's a really good guy.
Yeah, I feel like there are people that don't want to hear that, Ryan. Do you have a vote?
Yeah. Yep. And
who did you vote for?
Well, I haven't said it publicly, but my top 3 were the top 3 in the votes. Hunter to me was I sat there and just stared at it for the longest time, because to me it was between Jeanty and Hunter. And Ashton Jeanty, and rightfully so, was very disappointed, handled it very graciously, but he's got a chance to make noise. You know, one thing I love about this year is that, Boise State has for so long been carrying that banner for I call it the Gang of Five, right? The non-group of 5 or group of 4 conferences. And now, there's Boise State, and they had a guy who finished second to Heisman Trophy voting, and now they got football to play, right? And they got to bye. They play second round. So I know I'm smart enough to know that the system will end up rigged against them because it's just the way the system always is. But for now, I'm really excited for Boise State and for that school and that program to finally, get their legit spot on the stage, and that includes having the guy that finished second in the Heisman voting.
Absolutely, Ryan. And kind of speaking of Boise State, two questions. Number one, it is great that Boise is in the position they're in, but I do feel a little cheated as a college football fan that they're not hosting a game.
Yeah.
I just feel like that would just be so electric.
On the blue turf.
Oh, yeah. No, well, I say this, man. We're going to have plenty of cold. I'm going to Columbus, and I have no idea what to pack because I'm not. And it's funny, too, though. You guys know this. I've been doing all these radio interviews about the playoff and everything, and I keep reminding everybody, Knoxville isn't exactly, Jamaica, right? It's not, it's not balmy in 85 there. Everybody acts like, I understand Nico's from Southern California, and a lot of those guys are from Florida and Texas and all that stuff, but Columbus isn't that far away from Knoxville, so it's going to be super, super cold. But it's not like it doesn't get cold in Knoxville. But between South Bend and Happy Valley and Columbus, this would be a good week to be selling long johns.
Good week to be selling long johns, and I feel like the committee is going to feel a little shafted if we don't get at least some snow in one of those games.
One of them,
yeah. Well, can I just say, as someone who's in Columbus, if they would like to have the snow in Notre Dame, that'd be great, because I don't really want it in Columbus. I'm good.
That makes total sense, and I'm kind of on board with you. Real quick, though, Ryan, I did want to ask you, backtrack on the Heisman. Is it disappointing in the sense that we had two such great guys, and, props to Gabriel and props to Ward for being there as well, but is it a function of just the programs and being out west? It just felt like this Heisman season and this campaign, maybe Hunter just ran away with it so early. It felt like it didn't have the oomph that we had in some previous Heisman runs.
Yeah, the oomph kind of happened in the middle of the year because, Genty really came. And he was on no one's short ballot at the start of the year. And then when we got to the middle of the season, and really it was like week 2 or whatever it was when Ashton Genty, the only game Boise lost was to Oregon. And it wasn't Ashton Genty's fault. I mean, he had a huge day that day. And so he kind of got on the radar. And the one little bit that we had was Travis Hunter saying, I think Ashton Genty's great, but I play both ways. And Ashton Genty saying, I think Travis Hunter's great, but my numbers are my numbers. And so there was a little bit of that in the middle of the year. But, yeah, it felt like that Hunter got posted such a big lead by the middle of the season that it was impossible for Genty to catch up. But wasn't it great, though? I mean, again, kid from Colorado, kid from Boise, kid from Miami, kid from Oregon, and you got and what all those guys have played somewhere else except for Genty, within the last couple of years. It was kind of it was an interesting cross section of modern college football. And I know the SEC people are mad and the Tennessee people are mad that there wasn't a representative of the conference up there, but it's just kind of one of those years where to me, those four are from those different regions and from those very backgrounds. It was very representative of what the season's been.
Well, and the guy that was anointed from the SEC just jumped off a building. I mean, Carson Beck was just awful.
Yeah, no,
all year.
And listen, I've said this all year. Jalen Milroe, when he was good, he was good. When he was bad, he was really bad. And you could say the same thing, when you look at Texas. And you can say the same thing when you look. There's a lot of places. There are a lot of these quarterbacks. Nico, when they were good, they were really good, but their games were really flawed. And when they look bad, they look bad. And so that's part of why this year has been so inside out, because again, you go back and look at everyone's Heisman shortlist at the start of the year, and really the only one that was still standing, that was the guy who won it. Everybody else kind of crashed the party a little bit. And so, yeah, you're right. It's just, and to me, that's part of what makes the playoffs so interesting, because I don't have a whole lot of confidence in Quinn Ewers right now, if I'm a Texas fan, and I don't have a whole lot of confidence in Carson Beck if he ends up playing in the playoff. I just think, and Nico's gotten off to such slow starts in the first half. And Ohio State has the biggest payroll this side of the Philadelphia Eagles, and they couldn't score against Michigan. So it's an interesting year for that.
Ryan McGee of ESPN and the SEC Network joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Gonna be freezing in Columbus this weekend. And speaking of quarterbacks who have not played great, you know, you talk about Ohio State and that payroll, and Will Howard is I don't know who's going to get run out of town quicker if they don't win this game, him or his coach.
Yeah.
Ryan?
Yeah, it's tense. And Marty was just up there. Reese Davis was there yesterday. I talked to Reese this morning, and it's tense. You know, it's tensed, but it's focused. And so, you know, so what do you do with that? And the reality is we made a really, really big deal, and rightfully so, about the fact that they spent so much money to assemble particularly that offense. And there's Chip Kelly, right, who's I just want to focus on football. And this year, you know, a very typical, you know, kind of backloaded Big Ten schedule. First half of the year, that offense was great, and the second half of the year, when the schedule got tight, they weren't. And so it is really a something's got to give matchup, because again, you guys know this. Tennessee has struggled to get going in the first half, including the Vanderbilt game. And if they take too long to get going, the hole might be too deep. But Ohio State has done the opposite. Ohio State will put up points early, and in the second half, they just kind of check out on you. And so I'm really, really curious to see what happens. And then you throw in the fact that, you know, it's supposed to be, by the time we hit halftime, it's going to be about 19 degrees. I'm curious to see how that affects. Listen, Ohio State's nervous about that too. You know, when we talk to the people at Ohio State, what they're telling you is worrying about the sprinkler system's going to freeze and explode. You know, and worrying about the plumbing in the toilets and all this stuff that they don't play football there in December. And so it's going to be really, really interesting to see how the building reacts, but how the crowd reacts, because it's kind of like the Georgia crowd in Atlanta last weekend, or at this championship game. If things go south just a little bit, the horseshoe crowd might turn on Ryan Day. And when that happens, you know, that could be Tennessee's best friend in the second half.
And, you know, it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal that Kyle McCord finished 10th in the Heisman.
Yeah. No, I like the way you phrase it. I'm going to steal that. It is a big deal, but it's not a big deal. Well, that's the perfect. It's almost like you're a writer, Patton.
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. But I mean, yeah, I mean, when you've got Fran Brown thanking Ohio State and Ryan Day for his quarterback after the Miami win and different stuff like that, I mean, there's a lot of reason for it to be tense in Columbus right now.
Yeah, well, and Twitter didn't help. Of course, Twitter didn't help anything, but Twitter didn't help either when everybody was reminding everyone that, you know, the only class members from Ohio State's big, you know, legendary recruiting class, 3 years ago, the only ones that beat Michigan are the guys that are playing at other schools. And so, yeah, you know, they already really don't like me in Columbus, and for varied reasons that I can't explain. That's the only place where ESPN's had to assign like a security person just to me, based on something I didn't even actually write for ESPN magazine, but it got attached.
You don't have to. You don't have to write it though.
I had a friend that worked for Nationwide Insurance, and she had like a Match.com date. And when the guy found out she knew me, he got up and walked off. That's how much they love me in Columbus. But you add that to the fact that I'm going to be holding an SEC network microphone on the sideline.
Should go over well.
Yeah, you guys, anybody got any extra tasers? You might want to send those to Columbus for me.
Man, hey, Ryan, you mentioned Will Howard. Do we have an injury update on that guy? Because he did not look great at all in that second half versus Michigan after leaving a couple plays with an injury.
Well, I don't. You know, I'm gonna dive into my Ohio State research on the way up there. But it's but you know, everybody right now with these availability reports, it's got like the NFL. We're playing it all super close to the vest. But I don't have one, but I'm with you. He did not look great in that second half. And the reality is that you can have all the great skill players that you want. Somebody's got to get the ball to him. And and if he couldn't, I'm not sure who's going to do it.
Ryan McGee joining us here on Main Street Sports Today. Ryan, given your Carolina background, we would be remiss if we did not ask you about the coaching hire that took place in the Atlantic Coast Conference last week. What are your thoughts on Belichick to Carolina?
Well, and I wrote this last week in a column, and you're right. I was born in North Carolina. I'll be buried here. I grew up in Triangle. My dad was an ACC official. And I've always understood that the University of North Carolina Tar Heels have always been on the Mount Rushmore of how are they not better at football, right? There's so you look at the rosters at Tennessee and at Georgia and at, Florida State. These players, Clemson. There's so many North Carolina players, and so there's a lot of talent in the state. But for whatever reason, even with the money and the resources and the brand name and all that, the last conference championship won by in Chapel Hill was in 1980. Lawrence Taylor was on the team. They've had one 10-win season this century. The biggest win in the history of the program was probably the 1981 Gator Bowl. So I say all that to say this. Why not take a swing at Bill Belichick? I mean, because everything else you've done hasn't worked, right? Bringing Mac Brown back, bringing in Butch Davis. They burned Larry Fedora's promising career to the ground. Like it's just always been this generic football program, and it's never made any sense. So why not, right? Especially if we keep calling college football NFL light and AAA NFL, whatever else. If we got teams have general managers now. Ohio State's had a general manager for years. Well, now, okay, let's see if it'll work. And everyone's going to be watching this, because if Bill Belichick can't make it work in Chapel Hill, then no one's going to. And oh, by the way, North Carolina is the great wild card when it comes to the next round of re-11. Like, that's the one everyone wants. They're the program. But if they're not any good at football, what's the point of it? So there's a lot riding on this thing, and their collective that spends all that money on basketball has decided they're going to commit a lot of money to football for now. And but this is it. I would call it Hail Mary, but it's North Carolina, so we'll call it a half-court heave. Try it. If it doesn't work, whatever. Nothing else worked.
But again, to your point, Ryan, the fact that they are a basketball school, how much does that impact the fact that they've not really been able to hit it big in football?
Well, my dad was an ACC referee, and when I was growing up, a lot of years he had the North Carolina Duke game at the end of the season, or the North Carolina NC State game at the end of the season. And I can't tell you guys how many times I saw, third quarter, tight game, and everyone got up and started leaving the stadium. And the reason was because the basketball team was on TV, or the basketball team had an exhibition game against Athletes in Action or something. But as soon as the basketball team started playing, nobody cared. And so that's my question for Bill Belichick 3 years from now will be, all these bankers and tobacco farmers and all these furniture makers, these North Carolinians who promised all this NIL money and have pledged it all for you to take this job, are they going to, after 2 years and they're back in the Mayo Bowl, are they just going to go, forget this. Why am I spending this money on football when I can spend it on a power forward out of San Diego? So I'm curious to see if they're willing to stick it out long term. Because if they don't turn it around like Colorado did or like Arizona State did, they're going to wonder, what went wrong, and they're going to go back to the basketball court. I
was not expecting an Athletes in Action reference on our show.
I knew you guys would get it. I'll never forget it was Dick Crumb's last game. He was the winningest coach at North Carolina until Mac Brown came back, and I remember I get him leaving again. Like, where's everybody going? And North Carolina had a basketball game against it was Athletes in Action or the Czechoslovakian national team or something, game that didn't count.
Marathon Oil.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. They were all headed to the Dean Dome, by God. Why would I watch football when I could go watch the Athletes in Action?
Yeah, absolutely. Ryan McGee of ESPN and the SEC Network. I guess the SEC Network Friday night. So are you actually investing? Are you packing warm weather stuff? Are you going to get it when you get up there, or how are you attacking this?
I'm packing everything I've got. I tell you a trick I learned talking about my dad as a referee. When my dad was an official in the Big East, when they started Big East football in 1990 or 91, whatever it was.
Talk about staying warm.
He'd go work games at West Point and Boston College and Pitt and Syracuse and these places, in the middle of the winter. or middle of fall in November. And all those Northeastern officials will start putting on suntan lotion, like sunscreen. And Dad's like, what are you guys doing? But he learned you put on sunscreen, it works like an insulation, like it keeps you warm. And so Marty and I were somewhere last year, and it was freezing cold, like Auburn. I started putting on suntan lotion. They're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, trust me. And so it works. So I'll be taking my SPF and my Nomex up to Columbus, and we'll see how that goes.
Keep us posted. You'll have to come back and let us know if it worked.
Yeah. Well, if you never hear from me again, it's because my tongue froze to the roof of my mouth. But if it doesn't, I'll call you guys.
Sounds good. Ryan, we appreciate you taking some time with us, man. I would say stay warm, but it sounds like it's fighting a losing battle. Try not to get too cold. And we look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thanks, guys. All the best.
Thank you, Ryan.
Hey, when we come back for the final segment here on the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, it's the grab bag. Contractually obligated to talk a little hockey, so we'll talk a little hockey. More college basketball, though. Stay tuned when we return to the Lee Company studios after this.
So, you want to be a part of the Busy Bee team, huh? Well, how do you see yourself fitting into the organization? Oh, I get it. You want to be a weather bee.
This holiday season, the largest lantern festival in the country returns to Nashville Zoo. Experience more than 1,000 all-new, handcrafted lanterns, towering creatures, magical worlds, and a North Pole village. At the center of it all, the Smashville Ice Rink. Welcome back to Zoolumination at Nashville Zoo. Bigger, brighter, and better than ever.
Wrapping up the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely, coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes. And as we said at the end of the last segment, contractually obligated to talk a little bit about the Nashville Predators because got down 3-0 Saturday night. Got it back to 3-2 and then gave up a couple of empty netters in a 5-2 loss at Colorado. They've lost 8 of their last 10 now. Is that right? Is that the number?
Sounds
They've lost
right.
a lot. Yeah. I mean, it's tough. We just had Ann Kimmel on Friday, wedged her in after that Thursday night win out at Dallas, and then you come back to the same old, it's tough. And I mean, I'm not a huge hockey fan, but I'm a Predators fan. And as we've said on so many occasions, just for what the expectations were for this team, for them to come out and not be able to, stack some wins, at this point in the season, it's really kind of tough. And I think it's really tough here in Nashville because the Titans and the Predators are both struggling.
Yeah, I saw this in the rundown. I said, he's a braver man than me because this is more than I'm almost willing to. They are now tied for last in the NHL.
In the entire league. Yeah.
In the entire National Hockey League. They are tied with Chicago and only getting worse. The fewest wins of any NHL team. They've gotten a couple freebies in overtime, but man, it has been rough to say the least. And I mean, it feels like that clock is ticking closer to midnight on a change at the managerial position.
You would think the Rangers come to Bridgestone Arena tomorrow night for a 7:00 start. The Rangers 15-14-1, so they got a winning record, which is certainly more than the 8-17-6 Predators can say at this point. So we'll see how it goes. On to happier things. Show of hands. Who had Jordan Gainey 23 points in the game-winning basket on their bingo card? Nope. But with Zakai Ziegler in foul trouble and with Chaz Lanier fouling out, that was where the top-ranked Volunteers had to go to get a 66-64 win at Illinois on Saturday evening. And, I mean, I guess, you know, when you are the number one team in the country, you're going to have to show some resilience at some point. Tennessee shot 32% from the floor and won. And that's nuts. But part of that is in that Illinois shot 29% from the floor.
So. Yeah, nasty, ugly game right up Tennessee's alley.
Right.
Much.
Yeah.
Muck it up, drag them down in the mud. And, you know, it's like I joked with former UT Southern women's basketball coach Kyle Ben. He's a proud Illinois alum. And I texted him, razzed him a little yesterday. And he said, hey, we're a football school again. We ain't worried about hoops. But he realizes that Tennessee, that was a great road win. More importantly, it's not it wouldn't have been a bad loss by any means. And time will tell how good of a win it is. But if I got news for folks, if Tennessee keeps winning games, you're not concerned whether you got good wins or bad losses. You'll just be the number one seed. You won't even have to worry about it over any shape or form or fashion because they continue to find ways to win games. And that was a nice test that if you do stub your toe a couple times and you end up, you know, maybe in the discussion for a 1, maybe in the discussion for a 2, that's one that probably will come back and you'll be glad that you got it at your disposal at that point.
Yeah, I don't think I think to your point, man, I don't think Tennessee is necessarily looking forward to involving themselves in those discussions.
Yeah, I mean, you go undefeated and you're the number 1 overall seed no matter what. And so you don't even got to worry about that. But that is a quality win. And, you know, externally, obviously, it could or could not prove really useful down the road. But internally, I'm sure they probably learned a lot. And I know the coaching staff is probably proud, even though they had to really dig deep to get it done.
Tennessee received 50 votes at the number 1 spot in this week's Associated Press top 25. The other 12 went to number 2 Auburn. 3 of the top 4 teams in this week's AP top 25 are from the Southeastern Conference, with Kentucky coming in at number 4. Oh, also Alabama 6, Florida 7. So what's that? 3, 4, 5. 5 of the top 7 teams are out of the SEC.
It's going to be a fun league to watch this year.
Yeah, I don't know that we're going to have to worry about Tennessee going undefeated.
Well, you said it, not me. I was trying to give the Vols fans hope here, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough league. And the other thing now is you can't freak out when you finish with, you know, 4 or 5 or maybe even 6 losses, because it is going to be such a slog in league play.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, you can't just lose your ever-loving mind when you do get beat, because again, what I just say, 1, 2, 3, 5 of the top 7 teams in the country are in your conference. I mean, you're not the only good team in this conference. And at some point, you know, you're going to shoot 32% and it's going to cost you. So you just got it's going to be more a case, and I think Rick Barnes would tell you this, it's going to be more of a case of how you respond after that. So, but they're fun. I mean, as long as you don't mind 32% from the floor, as long if you've got the intestinal fortitude to watch a team do that and win, then as Wade likes to say, buy the ticket and ride the ride. You know, I don't think they're going to shoot 32% every night out. I think, again, like you said, I think Illinois had a lot to do with that, but they're playing some defense, and that's always been the case with a Rick Barnes team, and defense travels. It did to Champaign for sure. So,
and that's the ticket, right? I mean, Tennessee fans got a little spoiled with the offensive explosion last year, thanks to Connect and what he was able to do. This is kind of back a little more reverted to your traditional. You just got to lock and load. I mean, we ain't talking, Bo Ryan, Wisconsin type putrid levels of offense, but it ain't exactly going to be pretty on a night in, night out basis.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, they're not playing 42-39 ball games or anything like that. I mean, again, it was 66-64, but if you want offense, go watch the Lady Vols. It wasn't enough that they were playing a winless North Carolina Central team on Saturday, but that's the game that Kim Caldwell's bunch decides to go out and set an NCAA single game record for three-pointers made, as set school and conference records for most points scored, defeating North Carolina Central 139-59 for the mathematically challenged. That's an 80-point win. And I think that this is kind of the type of ball that Kim Caldwell had intended her team to play when she came in here from Marshall. I mean, get up and down the floor and score in transition and hit threes. And it sounds like they did both the other night, or the other day, excuse me. I was on the sideline up at Clarksville again at the East West All-Star Classic with Main Street Clarksville's Calvin White, and he's like, they tweeted that Tennessee set a record for three-pointers in this game, but they didn't say how many. And I'm like, well, let's see. So pulled up the box score right quick, and yeah, they hit 33s. And again, North Carolina Central's going, y'all didn't have to do that to us. I mean, you didn't have to hit 33s to beat us.
And then they walked in and said, snatched the check and said, all right, fine, we'll still take it.
Yeah, we're going to take the check. Absolutely.
We're going to get the check. Matter of fact, you could add a little extra at the end. I remember, our buddy Caleb Calhoun from Off the Hook Sports said, hey, this team is going to, on their good nights, they're capable of some special things with the way that the philosophy and the roster is composed. And we saw probably as good as you're going to see. So what a weekend for Tennessee fans. Your men's team wins in an ugly kind of fashion, but your ladies team, putting on a show for the ages offensively.
No doubt. Not to be outdone, Nashville Southeastern Conference team on the women's side did something special yesterday as well. Vanderbilt defeated Evansville 106-40, improving to 10-1 on the season. Their second straight 10-1 start, but sophomore Camille Pierre scored a program record 42 points in that win. 42 points, 18 boards, and 8 steals specifically in that 106-40 win over Evansville. And the 42 points is one better than the previous record of 41 set by Shiaja Harbison, who did it last year. Well, no, I'm sorry, 2 years ago, January 29, 2023 against A&M. And prior to that, the only other Commodore women's player to score more than 40 was Chantel Anderson, who scored 40 in 2000 and 41 against Mississippi State in 2001. So Camille Pierre with a school record 42 points in that victory for the Commodores. Again, they are 10-1 on the season. Tennessee's women improving to 8-0 with that win. So, good times for women's basketball fans around here with both Tennessee and Vanderbilt right now, anyway, kind of getting back to where a lot of folks expect those teams to be traditionally. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. That's going to do it for for the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Come back with us at 2 o'clock tomorrow to the Lee Company studios. We will be joined by Ben McKee of Go Vols 24/7 and the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters. Join us then. We'll see y'all.